In the last video, we learned about some good characteristics of course learning outcome. For example, we know that how many CLO to develop for a particular course. We know that how we can use a general rule of thumb that one credit equals to 40 students learning time and equals to one CLO. We also learned that CLO can be mapped to different learning domains such as cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. We also learned that there are basically three components in each of the CLO statement. For example, action verbs, condition, and standard. We learned that CLO should be written in a simple language, in a future tense, and must be measurable. We also learned that CLO need to be standard across the university if the subject is to be shared with other program. But there's another questions that perhaps will come into your mind. For a CLO to be mapped to, like for example, the cognitive domain, we know that the cognitive domain itself, it has 6 levels, from remember until create. So how are we going to map correctly to each of the level within the same domain? So this coming video will give you the answer to your questions. In this video, we will be discussing about the level of learning. So let's have a quick recap. So in the last video, we know that when you try to design your course learning outcome, your course learning outcome should be mapped to any of these specific learning domain. For example, cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. But there's another questions that comes to your mind. Under the cognitive domain, what level should you measure? Because the cognitive domain itself, it has 6 levels. Okay, so what are the level that you should measure? So this video will provide you the answer. So after this video, you should be able to determine the level of learning when writing a CLO. So you can see that under the cognitive domain, there are C1 from remember until C6. So C1 indicates the lowest level and C6 is the most complicated level. Similarly for affective, it has A1 until A5. Psychomotor, it has P1 until P7. So one question to you, out of these 3 domains, which domain is the most easier to be measured and which domain is the most difficult to be measured? Okay, so the answer is cognitive is the easiest to be measured, while affective would be the most difficult to be measured. So let's take cognitive for example. There are C1 until C6. So when you want to design your course learning outcome that time, you have prepared a course learning outcome, you know that this course learning outcome is going to map against cognitive. So which level you should set for your course learning outcome? Or you might have even bigger question mark on your mind right now. I have the course learning outcome done, but should I map it to cognitive, affective, or psychomotor? Which one should I map to? So these are the common questions that most of the time lecturers will encounter when they want to design your course learning outcome. So I provide you a few rule of thumb. Hopefully it can help you to solve your problems. The first rule of thumb is proposed by the MQA trainers that I have gone through before. So I was told by the MQA trainer saying that we can actually follow this proposed Bloom level. So like for example, under the diploma, you should try to cover up to C3, P4, and A3. For undergraduate, you should cover until C4, P4, and A3. When you are doing for master program, you should cover up to C5, P5, or A4. When you are doing PhD level, then you should try to cover C6, P6, or A5. Okay, so this is something that they have proposed to us when we want to design a course learning outcome. So which means, like for example, if you are design for diploma program, you should at most go to C3. So C3 is equivalent to apply. You should try not to go beyond that to analyze level, which is C4. Keep it for the degree level. There are some understanding as well behind this. It will seem that by doing this, you'll be able to differentiate very clearly the level of learning from diploma to undergraduate to master to PhD. Okay, so there are another suggestion is that you can apply at least 5% of the total number of courses for the program to achieve the proposed learning Bloom taxonomy of learning over here. Okay, for example, if you're doing for undergraduate program, the degree program, Like in your degree program, you have 40 courses. If following this principle, the 5% principle, so which means that you must have at least 2 courses achieve C4, 2 courses achieve P4, and 2 courses achieve A3. Okay, so there are a few ways you can play with the first rule of thumb. First is you either follow this one, yeah, exactly. When you design your diploma program, you should not exceed C3, P4, or A3. Or if you are doing undergrad program, you should not exceed C4, P4, or A3. And similarly, master and PhD. Or you can follow the calculations program using the at least 5% method times the total subject that you have. Okay, you can use this method to help you. Or you can have this to help you as well. You look at the MQF 2.0. You remember that all your CLO need to be mapped against the MQF 2.0, which is your PLO. So you can predetermine each of the MQF 2.0 cluster of learning over here, what category of learning domain you want to categorize it. Like for example, I give you a set of example over here. The first cluster of learning, knowledge and understanding, I set it as cognitive level. Similarly, for cognitive scale, I set a cognitive level. Practical scale, I set it as psychomotor level. And subsequently, interpersonal scale, I set it affective. Communication scale, I set it as affective. And subsequently, you have the psychomotor and then until the affective for the last one, ethic of professionalism. In case your CLO is going to map to the first one, knowledge and understanding, then your CLO should be measured at the cognitive level. Okay, cognitive level. Whether the cognitive level should be C1, C2, and C3, you can refer back to this guideline. Yeah, to this guideline. If you are doing for degree, then it should maximum go up to C4 level. Yeah, it should maximum go up to C4 level. So this is an example how you can play with the PLO. Of course, who is the one that going to decide knowledge and understanding to measure at cognitive or practical scale to be measured at psychomotor level? So this one you have to discuss within your school. So discuss within your school, discuss with your school member, and decide and fix it. Knowledge and understanding is to cognitive or to affective. You have to fix it within your school. Then everyone follow that particular standard so that your program will have a consistency. Yeah, for all the program offered under the same school. It will even better if you do it at the university wide. Then it will be easier for us to do subject crossing of subject in the future. Yeah, where all the subject which is shared subject will be measured at the same learning domain and measured to the same PLO. Okay, this is a consistency. So again, I repeat, to decide whether knowledge and understanding is to measure as cognitive, psychomotor, affective, which you're going to use a second general rule of thumb, you can discuss within your school member. Yeah, discuss within your school member and decide it. Then the third general rule of thumb that you can use is the program structure approach. Yeah, the program structure approach. Like for example, you can use this as example. Undergrad program, for example, we have an undergrad degree program, which normally if you complete into the face-to-face wise, the full-time method, it should be complete within the 3 years, for example. Then you can say like this way. For all the year 1 subject, it should be measured at the C1 and C2 level. And the year 2, it should be measured at least C3 and C4 level. And for year 3, it should be measured at least at C4 and C5 level. Okay, so this is another approach you can use, the program structure approach. So you can see that for the year 1, you use C1 and C2. This will be for a low level subject like principle of management or principle of marketing. For year 2, it will be a higher level where you have like human resource management, branding, management accounting coming in, where we measure at apply and analysis. And final year will be the most complicated subject like strategic management, strategic marketing planning, advanced management accounting, where we measure at a higher level, C4 and C5. So by using this program structure approach, the students will be able to feel, yeah, the difficulty is increasing when they move on to a higher level of study, yeah. And also this is good for you as well because a lot of students, they are coming to your degree program using their diploma. So usually diploma, if they follow the proposed framework, it measures at C3 level. So it will be just nice for you to cover your year 1 and give the credit exemption. So there are multiple factors you need to consider when you want to decide whether it's measured as C1 or C2. So it's always better for you to sit down and discuss with your school member, yeah, and have a common understanding. So I have shared with you the 3 general rule of thumb that you can use. Firstly, the general rule of thumb is the set of proposed level. Second is use the MQA framework, the PRO method. And the third is the program structure approach. So you can use these 3 general rule of thumb to help you to determine what level of learning you should set for your course specifically. Okay, and this shows you that for the new versions of the MQA Table 4 template, the latest one, June 2020 version, you have to indicate, which CRO is going to map with which PRO, and also in the template itself, you have to show your mapping to the MQF cluster as well. Yeah, so that's why it's very important for you to identify carefully the level of your learning that you want to set in for your student, so that you can show a clear differentiation between the year 1 subject, year 2 subject, and the year 3 subject. Okay. Okay, the next topic that we're going to discuss will be the component of the CRO. We are going to detail how to construct a good CRO by looking into the 3 components that we have seen earlier in the previous video, which is the action work, and the standard, and the condition. Okay, see you in the next video.